Hello, my name is Katie. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video I thought I would just quickly run through my mid-year favourites. So this is basically any makeup products that I've tried between January and June. So like the last thing that will be included is my June's first impressions. I thought I would just talk about like my kind of top products that I found this year. I have put all of them on my face today and I will insert clips of me applying the various makeup products I talk about today on my face. I forgot to film me applying the lip product, so sorry about that. It's not that important, it's not that revolutionary seeing someone put a lipstick on, so you know. Okay, so I'll start by talking about primers, which I am never like mad about primers, but I still seem to just buy them like a lot. Like I've tried quite a few this year and it's only like half the year, but I've got 3 that I'll shout out for being quite nice. So I'll talk about the one that I used today. So this is the Technic Strobe Effects Cream in Catching Rays. There's like about 3 or 4 different colours of this. It's described as a highlighting cream. I wouldn't use it as like a liquid highlighter because I personally just don't really like liquid highlighters. I just prefer a powder highlighter. But I think it looks really nicely as like a primer, just to give you a little bit of glow under your foundation. It is obviously very glowy, but it's not like super overpowering. It doesn't look like you've just kind of smothered glittery oil all over your face or anything like that. It does have like a tiny bit of glitter in it, so if you're very like anti-glitter on the face, then you might not like it, but it's not really like a lot, it's only a small amount. And you can't really see it once you've done the rest of your makeup anyway. So like, it's not revolutionary or anything, but I like it enough to want to use it. It's just a nice little glowy thing to put under foundation. This is kind of how I feel about all of these primers. Like, I'm just going to shout them out as favourites because they're nice, but I don't, like, I'm not head over heels for them or anything. So also the Barry M, this is the Glowmance Soft Focus Revitalising Cream, which is again, it's a glowy primer. I really like this one too. This one doesn't really have any glitter in it, so you wouldn't have to worry about like glitter on your face for this one, but it's just like a really nice like bit of dew to your face and like radiance, and it's really nice. It's a really decent, if you're the kind of person that just wants like a little bit of glow under your makeup, it's pretty foolproof in terms of that. But again, like it's not too much, not too oily, not too glittery. Very nice primer. And also this one from Figs and Rouge, which I got in a cohorted beauty box. This is the Morning Glow Drops, it's called. Again, I don't know if this is meant to be used as a primer or a liquid highlighter, but I would use it as a primer personally. Again, it's just really nice, lovely bit of glowy dew under your foundation. I'm saying the same thing about all of these because they're all the same really. None of them like kind of give your face a weird colour or anything. They're basically like translucent, even though this one looks pink. This one looks kind of yellow. The Strobe Effects one's sort of like a silvery, kind of beigey sort of colour. But they all kind of just, you know, adapt to your skin really. But obviously like with the Technic one, this comes in different colours anyway. Primers, that's primers for you, you know. If I'm going to have a primer, I think I'd rather have a glowy one. I mean, I feel like the pore, like, minimising primers that I've tried, I've never been like that, like, amazed by. Like, I do want to try the e.l.f. poreless primer thing that a lot of people have been talking about, just because I've heard good things about it. So I want to see if that one actually does do something for my pores, because I feel like in the past I've never really noticed anything from, like, pore-reducing primers. And I do have quite prominent pores, so I would quite like to find something that actually does help with those. Anyway, let's move on to foundations. So there's 2 foundations that stand out to me as being quite good that I've tried this year. Everything else just sort of falls in the kind of average category, maybe like a couple that I just didn't really like at all. But I found like a lot of average foundations this year, but there's 2 that I do really like quite a lot. So I'll talk about the one that I've put on today. This is the Kiko Full Coverage 2-in-1 Foundation and Concealer, and it has like a doe foot applicator. This is a shade, I think it's Warm Rose. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Warm Rose, which it's not a great colour match. I do think they added a few shades, but like I'm not sure if they added any lighter shades, so I don't know if I would have like a perfect colour match, and there's probably not. I think this is the closest I can really get. As you'll see with the clip that I've filmed, what I do is I just like doff it all over my face and then just kind of get a blob of white foundation, because obviously I've got quite a lot of white foundations, and just kind of blob it all over, and then it all sort of blends together with the sponge. It's a little bit of a pain to have to do that. So other than the colour issue though, I pretty much like everything else about this foundation. I think like I've got it on today, I feel like my skin looks like super flawless. It's really good coverage. Like I would say it's a high medium / low fold coverage, which is really great personally. I like that a lot. Finish is nice, it doesn't look too heavy or too cakey, it doesn't accentuate your texture too much. And it also has pretty good longevity as well. Like it's not the best I've ever found for longevity, that would be like the W7 foundations, but it's really good. It's certainly one of the better wearing foundations I've found. So this is a really nice foundation. I thought I'd just mention it because it is really nice and I really like it. I just really wish that I could have like a better shade match, because then I feel like I'd love this so much more if I didn't have to mix it, if you know what I mean. This next foundation, like I adore this. This is the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear foundation, and mine is in the shade Porcelain, I believe, which I think is a lighter shade. It's a teensy bit dark. I can sort of get away with it on its own, but I feel like a tiny bit of white mixer would help with this one. This is just a really good foundation. Like I think this might just be become one of my favourite like all-time foundations. I think it's great. It's not as good coverage as the Kiko one, but I don't really mind that because then I just kind of add a bit more concealer. Yeah, I would describe it as like a kind of solid medium coverage foundation, which is personally fine for me. But I mean, if you want full coverage, then that is the downside of this, but for me, I'm happy with that level of coverage. The finish is really nice. I mean, the fact that it's described as fresh wear, I feel is accurate. I feel like it looks fresh on your skin. It looks quite dewy, definitely not like really dry or anything like that, which I found like, I just have found recently that I don't actually like foundations that are more matte or dry in formula. Like I felt like I didn't really mind, like I didn't have a preference, but recently I'm discovering that I actually prefer like more semi-matte or dewy foundations. This has amazing wear. That's probably my favourite thing about it. It wears so well, and like I find that very hard to find because I just have one of those skin types where foundation, it just does not want to stay on it. It just really does not. But this is great. Like at the end of the day, I feel like other than like my nose where all my foundation comes off because I have a very irritated nose, especially because I'm sick at the moment, other than that area, it literally looks so good at the end of the day. Like it looks like pretty much when I applied it. So lovely finish, great wear, decent coverage. Again, it's not full coverage, but I don't mind that personally. I really like this. I think this is like my favourite drugstore foundation and probably one of my favourite like all-rounder foundations. For concealers, I'm going to mention 3. So the first one I'll mention is the e.l.f. 16-Hour Camo Concealer. Mine is in the shade Fair Warm, which is slightly lighter than my skin tone, which is great because this isn't even the lightest shade, it's the second lightest. I don't use this on blemishes, I just kind of use it under my eyes and on my eyelids, but I love it for that. It just has really good coverage, and like I didn't really have like super high expectations because it is a very cheap concealer. I think it's about £5, but it is full coverage. Like for a drugstore concealer, I was so impressed with the coverage, like really impressed. If you use it on your bare skin, it can look a tiny bit dry, but I've not had any issues with it looking dry over the top of foundation. I just think it adds really nice coverage, and it doesn't look too heavy or too cakey either though. If you're a really pale person, you know that it sometimes can be a struggle to find like concealer that like brightens. It's like sometimes you can't even find things that just match your skin tone full stop. So it's nice that I have something that I can actually like lift my eye area with. I really like this concealer. I was really impressed with it. The next one that I'll mention is the Jouer Essential High Coverage Liquid Concealer. This one is in the shade Lace, which is a little bit too dark for me, which is the one thing that I'm disappointed with this concealer. They have got one shade lighter called Snow. It's described as being pink toned, which I'm not mad about. I don't think pink toned things suit my skin. But I don't know, like sometimes things describe themselves as pink, but then they're not that pink, if you get what I mean. So I feel like I would consider buying the lighter shade. I mean, you never know, they might expand the shade range. The shade range is pretty decent overall, I just have that issue. This has got such good coverage, like it is full coverage. I tend to use this more so on blemishes as opposed to under my eyes, or if I do use it under my eyes, I'll put like a bit of white concealer on with it and that works fine. But again, it's not dry at all, but it's got such good coverage, and I don't know about you, but I feel like a lot of like full coverage concealers that are coming out, or full coverage concealers are like really like dry and matte in formula, and I just don't find it flattering, especially in the eye area. So I like that this is full coverage, but it's not super dry either. I think this is great, and like, yes, it is a high-end product and it's a bit like, it's pricier than, you know, like an e.l.f. concealer, but considering it is high-end, it's not super expensive. I think it's about 15 or 16 pounds. A lot of high-end concealers tend to be over 20 quid, so I mean, it's not super expensive. I would definitely buy another one. If anyone's tried that shade Snow, can you let me know, is it super pink toned or is it more neutral? Because I would consider buying it, because this one is quite empty now. I have the same sort of colour issue with this one. This is the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer. Mine's in the shade Swan. They have added a few lighter shades though, so I feel like if I did rebuy this, I probably would be able to find one that is a better match for me. I tend to just use this one on blemishes and like on my nose as opposed to under my eyes or my eyelids. But it works really well for that. It has got really good coverage. I know a lot of people really like this guy. I think it's really nice too. I do really like it, but I kind of wish I had a lighter shade. Again, this one isn't too dry either, which I really like. So yeah, good coverage and not too dry, and doesn't look super heavy either. So yeah, I think this is a really good concealer. So definitely all three of these I would recommend. I think you've got kind of three different price points there. You've got the e.l.f. one, which is super affordable, Jouer, which is kind of in the middle, and then the Too Faced one that's quite expensive. I think this is like, is this over £20? I can't remember. Would recommend all three of these concealers, really like them. So for setting powder, I have massive issues with setting powder. I don't know what it is. It's just like sometimes my makeup will be going so well and then I'll set it and I feel like I've ruined my like base makeup. I just have a lot of problems with like under my eye area, and particularly where it just goes really crepey. Sometimes it separates my concealer, like it makes it look all kind of patchy and like congealed, if that makes sense. I find that with a lot of powders. Or they just look kind of cakey and just not very like skin-like, you know what I mean? I just want something that's kind of, you know, sort of flawless looking. The best one that I've been able to find is this one. This is the L'Oreal Infallible Magic Loose Powder, which is sort of a blue colour, but it definitely is translucent. Like, it doesn't make your foundation any lighter or any darker. It is translucent, which is great because I know a lot of translucent powders can make you like white. I used to be very anti-loose powders because I just thought they were too messy and like an inconvenience, but see, now I'm kind of like coming around to them, and I think for the rest of this year I'm definitely going to try more loose powders. Like, I want to try the Coty Airspun one, I want to try the Fenty Beauty one. Gosh has got some as well that I'd like to try. I definitely want to give loose powders more of a chance because I feel like I've used pressed powders for so long and it's never really worked out for me, so I might as well try the other end of the spectrum. This one's really good because it doesn't look cakey, it doesn't separate under my eyes like I was pointing out. It just looks flawless, you know, and I find that incredibly rare and hard to find with powders. There's only one downside to this, and some days it doesn't do this too badly, but some days it does. Your kind of cheap product, like highlighter and bronzer, it doesn't always like show up as nicely on top of it. Like, I do feel like it has done that a bit today, like my bronzer and my highlighter isn't as popping as I would like it to be. So it does have an issue of that happening. It's just like, yeah, I find a nice powder and there has to be like one issue with it, doesn't there? But other than that, I like pretty much everything about this. It's not super expensive either. I think it's like $8.99, I want to say. I do feel like I am starting to run out though, so I do kind of wish it was a bit bigger and you got more in it. But I do really like it. It's a nice powder. I probably would buy it again. All of the other powders I've tried, like I found some like okay ones. Like the NARS, this is the NARS Soft Velvet Pressed Powder in Snow. This is okay. Like, I'm not in love with it. I do prefer the L'Oreal one, but it's alright. Also the number 7 pressed powder. That one's not too bad either, but I don't love it. The L'Oreal one's the only one that I would say that I like quite a lot. Okay, so moving on to bronzers. I've tried quite a lot of really good bronzers actually this year, but I've narrowed it down to 3 because I wanted to try and keep it to like 3 per category. So again, I've got like 3 from like all ends of the price spectrum. So I've got a super cheap one, a sort of mid-price one, and then a quite expensive one. So I'll talk about the cheap one first. This is also the one that I've got on today. So this is the MUA Bronzed Matte Bronzing Powder in the shade Solar number 100. They have got a few different shades of these, and they've also got some shimmer ones as well. I did buy one of the shimmer ones, but it like smashed, which was really annoying, so I don't know what they're like. This is really nice. It's a good colour for pale skin. It's sort of like a caramel sort of colour. It blends out really nicely. It doesn't look muddy. It doesn't look patchy. It's just a really good bronzer, and it's only like £2.50, so I thought I'd mention it because I do really like it quite a lot. In the kind of mid-end of the price spectrum, I got the Body Shop This is the bronzing powder in the shade 01. They've got like about 5 or 6 shades of this, I think. But this one is super duper fair, really good if you've got pale skin like me. I really like this. It's not too pigmented either. It blends out really easily, and it doesn't look like too much or too harsh. Again, not muddy or patchy or anything like that. So it's a really nice bronzer. I really like this. Also, I mentioned the iconic Too Faced Milk Chocolate Soleil bronzer, which again, very good for pale skin. I know that they have lots of different colour versions of this. It smells absolutely amazing. Like every time you open that, it's just amazing. This was a little bit more pigmented, but it blends out like so seamlessly that it doesn't really matter that it is a bit more pigmented. The shade works really well. It's just like a really nice bronzer. I really like this a lot. That's all I can really say about bronzers. There's not really much to say about them. They warm up my face. They give me a sun-kissed look. That's all I want, you know? So for favourite highlighters, again, another Too Faced product. This is the Too Faced Diamond Fire highlighter. I did put this one on today, but like I said, that powder doesn't always make my highlights show up very nicely, but on a good day this looks amazing. It comes out like a sort of kind of goldy sort of colour. It's got a lot of different like reflex in it, as you can see. It's not like too holographic though, if that would like put some people off. Like I feel like it looks sort of like goldy on the face. Goldy silvery sort of colour. I personally really like it for my skin tone. They have got a few different colours though of this, if I remember correctly. Really nice, super pigmented, but without it being too much. And it just kind of sits on the skin really nicely. It doesn't look too textured. It's just a really nice highlighter. It's expensive, you know, so I can understand if you wouldn't want to buy it. Like I kind of was like, do I really want to spend this much money on a highlighter? But I somehow decided that I did. These ones, super cheap however. These are the Technic Get Gorgeous highlighting powders. Again, there's like loads of shades of these Technic highlighters. I've got Virtuoso and Galaxy Girl. These are quite like holographic ones, so they won't be up everyone's street, but as I said, there's loads of different colour options. These are incredibly pigmented. Like I was like blown away by how pigmented these were, considering they're like £3. Like, look at that. That is insane. This is obviously the more silvery one. I personally quite like silver highlights. I know not everyone will, but like I personally really like them, and it is just insanely pigmented. I mean, you could obviously use that as an eyeshadow as well, which I have done before. They're just so good. Again, this one's more like lilac-y purple toned. Like they are just like amazing. Like how are they this pigmented for £3? I don't understand. But they look so nice and like glowy and ethereal on the face. Great highlighters, definitely get them. You might not be into these colours, so definitely try one of the other colours, like the more natural looking ones. That would suit different skin tones. I'll also mention this one that I tried recently. This is from Pop Beauty. It's the Prismatic Pop Celestial Light highlighter. This is a more sort of pinky pearly coloured one. It's a bit more kind of natural. It's not super holographic like those Technic ones, but it's super pigmented, super pretty, sits on the skin really nicely, doesn't look textured. I mean, look how pigmented it is. That's beautiful. I just really like this colour. Like, look at that. That is so nice. And it looks great on the actual face as well. Once again, I have done the kind of three ends of the price spectrum here. Too Faced, quite expensive. Pop Beauty, sort of in the middle. I think it's about £12. And the Technic ones are £3, super cheap. I'm considering all price budgets here. But I think that does just go to show that, like, price really doesn't matter. Like, there's really good high-end makeup, there's really good cheap makeup, there's really good middle price makeup. Like, really there's something from like all price spectrums. So the message is that you don't really need to spend your money. There's options for like super cheap prices. But I imagine if you're watching this, you're probably a makeup fanatic like me, so we'll just continue to buy like everything. Okay, so I'll talk about eyebrows next. I'm going to mention 2 gels and then 3 micro brow pencils. So the one I used today was the e.l.f. Wow Brow Gel. I think the shade is deep brown. This is great. Sometimes I do find it hard to find brow gels that just do exactly what I want to my brows. Like, I just want something that's going to obviously fill them in and like give them some colour and fill in, you know, like the sparseness, but like also just comb them through nicely. But I don't want it to be splodgy, I don't want it to be thick. The amount of brow gels that I've found that like I do it and it just looks like an actual mess. There's a lot of them, but this one is just amazing. I mean, I feel like, as you can see from my brows today, they don't look too heavy or too much, or like I've just managed to smudge product everywhere. This is great, I love this. Again, it's super duper cheap, which is amazing. Like, I love it when I just find makeup that's good and is cheap. Like, I recently tried the ABH brow gel. This is way better. Like, don't buy the ABH gel. Get this. This is so much better. Got a really good like brush size because I prefer something that has got a smaller brush. You can just get in there quite intricately. That has exactly that. You don't have to wipe up like too much excess. Like for example, when I was doing it today, that was the amount of excess, and like sometimes with some brow gels, my whole hand will literally just be covered in freaking product. Like there's that much excess on it. In the grand scheme of things, that is not a lot. So I would definitely buy a shit ton of these. These are great. I love it. This is a different sort of style and format of brow gel, but this is the Collection Fast Brow Tinted Brow Gel. Now, this has been discontinued, but there is a thing called the Incredibrow, which I'm like 99% sure is the exact same thing. Like, when I've seen pictures of it, it is basically like a gel that's got a doe foot like this. So I'm pretty certain it's the same thing, same formula. I hope if anyone's tried it, let me know. But obviously, I can't apply my actual brows with the doe foot because that would be a hot damn mess. What I tend to do is obviously just brush through them with a spoolie first or a clear gel. Then I get like an angled brush like this, and obviously then I just kind of get it on from the doe foot, tap off any excess if I need to, paint my brows on, and it fills them in really nicely. It looks really natural, doesn't look too thick or too heavy, it doesn't splodge up. It just looks super natural, but then it has a good bit of definition to it as well. I think this is really good, definitely. I really hope that the formula of the Incredibrow is the same because I think this is really good. So I've tried a few micro brow pencils this year, but these three I would say are my favourites. So first, the e.l.f. Ultra Precise Brow Pencil, which I obviously got with that gel. Again, it's in the shade Deep Brown. Really like this, very natural, doesn't come out too thick. Colour obviously is the exact same as this brow gel, so like I put both of these on today, so there's no like colour inconsistency. It's just a very standard dark brown colour. Not much to say about micro brow pencils, as long as they don't come out like too thick and too pigmented. That's when I have an issue with them, and if they kind of like blend out nicely with a spoolie, that's all I really want from them. And these other two do that as well, so I've also got the Revolution Micro Brow Pencil in dark brown. Again, this is a really good colour. Revolution Pro brought out like a micro brow pencil like last year, I think, and it was so like red toned, and I did not like that at all. But this is just a very neutral like dark brown colour, which is exactly what I want. And again, very soft formula, doesn't look too harsh. Really good micro brow pencil, and this one's super cheap. The e.l.f. one's super cheap as well, actually. I think they're only like £3 or £4. This one I tried more recently. This is the Max Factor Brow Shaper Ultra Fine Shape Fill Define in the shade Deep Brown. And again, it's pretty much the same as the others. It's just a standard micro brow pencil. Just a nice like neutral toned deep brown colour. And again, it's very soft and not too harsh. So, I mean, do I need to have all three of these? Not necessarily, but I think that they're really good brow pencils and they're not expensive at all. The most expensive is a Max Factor one, but it's not that expensive. I think it's like $6.99 maybe. Yeah, these all work really well with brow gels because what I tend to do is I'll use something like the e.l.f. gel, and then I'll just use these to kind of define it a little bit more and just fill in any like leftover gaps. Obviously I use the e.l.f. pencil for that today, and I really like how my brows turned out. For kohl liner in the waterline, I'm going to mention two because these ones are just the most pigmented and the most long-lasting ones that I've found. See, I've tried a lot of decent like eyeliners, but I just find that they don't have the same longevity, or they haven't got the same creaminess and like dramatic pigmentation. But these two are really good for this. So I'll start with the one that I put on today, and I only tried this recently in June. It's the Maybelline Tattoo Liner Gel Pencil at the shade 900 Deep Oinks, and it is a very creamy, very pigmented black eyeliner. Shows up super dramatic in the waterlines, and it stays on your eyes. It's not completely gone by the end of the day like a lot of kohl eyeliners tend to be. It just kind of sticks onto your waterline, and it's really good. It's got the colour payoff. It's very smooth. It doesn't feel unpleasant to put on. It's like super creamy, which is great, and it's super cheap. Really like this, and I feel the same way about this one as well. This is the This is the Sleek Intense Waterliner in the shade Zodiac Black, and I don't know what happened to my lid. Somehow got a bit bent. Super pigmented, and it stays on your eyes. I feel the exact same way about this one as I do about the Maybelline one. They're basically very similar products. Stay on your eyes all day. Super creamy, super pigmented. The only kind of issue with these is if you leave the lid off them, it does dry them out a bit. So if you get these keep the lid on them at all time, well, other than when you're using it, obviously. Yeah, keep the lid on, sharpen them regularly, and they're always going to be super creamy. Like, the creaminess doesn't go away as long as you keep the lids on and, like, obviously sharpen them regularly. So I forgot to mention the Bourjois Liner Feature eyeliner for my favourite liquid liner. Both this one and the slim one I've used a lot since I bought them, so I would just say that these are my favourite ones. Filming me forgot to mention these, but I did film the clips, as you can see. For mascara, there's two that I'll shout out. I have got them both on me, but they're both quite dried up now, so I did apply both of these to my lashes today, but my lashes aren't like amazing because both of these products have dried up quite a bit, but I think considering I still did get some decent lashes out of them. But the first one is from the Body Shop. It's the Lash Hero Fibre Extension Mascara in London Jet, and this is one of the double-ended ones that has a actual mascara and then fibres on the other end. So obviously you do the regular mascara, put the fibres on, and then blend it in with the regular mascara again. It just gave your lashes a lot of drama and a lot of impact, and that's all I want from a mascara, really. Something that, you know, I can see it there. Like, I can see my eyelashes. A lot of mascaras are just very meh. They just don't really do an awful lot. But this gives thickness, it gives volume, and it gives length. So it just does everything that I want in a mascara. I wish I could show it to you in its prime. Obviously I've only got like my first impressions video and any other videos that I used it in to reference. The second one I mention is the e.l.f. Keep Your Curl Mascara, which again, this one I still got a little bit of product in. I can like get something out of it, but what I tend to do is just top it off with another mascara over the top, just to get it into full volume. But when this is in its prime, again, super volumizing, super lengthening, does have a tiny bit of curl to it as well, and it doesn't smudge everywhere. Same with the Body Shop one. I found like some mascaras, they tend to like smudge everywhere and it's really irritating. But this one doesn't do that. And this one's also super cheap. The Body Shop one's not super inexpensive. I think it's like about £12 or so. So it's not super cheap, but the e.l.f. one is definitely super cheap. I think it's about £5 or £6. Very similar to the Maybelline Lash Sensational as well, so if you like that one, I think you'd definitely like this one as well. Really nice mascara. I feel like the best mascara that I found this year though is the one that I've just tried in my July first impressions, so I can't talk about that one. From January to June, these were probably two of the best ones that I found. So for eyeshadow, there's two palettes that I found that I really like, and they're also both drugstore ones, which is great. There's one single eyeshadow that I'll shout out as being quite nice. It's from Kiko. It's the Kiko Glitter Shower eyeshadow. This one's in 02. It's a very rose gold colour. It's super pigmented, super beautiful on the eyes. It just looks amazing. I really want to buy the other colours of these because I think that they're stunning. So this would be a favourite too, but obviously it's just one single eyeshadow, so there's not much I can do with that. Do want to get the whole collection of them. But my two favourite eyeshadow palettes I've tried, first of all, this one from Revolution. This is the Revolution Shook eyeshadow palette, and it's pretty big. This is what the colours look like. It's quite an interesting colour scheme. It's quite warm toned, I would say. It's not like super like colourful and adventurous. I feel like it is more like warm toned, like everyday sort of shades, but then there are a few obviously pops of colour in there. Like you've got some blues and some like bright purples and stuff, but I feel like it's quite a wearable palette. I used this one on my eyes today, as you'll see from the clips, and I feel like this is more of a sort of like neutral sort of like, you know, night out sort of eyeshadow look that I've done here, but I really like it. And as you can see, like the shades are super pigmented, the shimmers show up so nicely, the mattes blend super easily and are again really pigmented. I think this is a really nice palette and definitely an underrated one from Revolution because I've not seen like a lot of discussion about it. I know that eyeshadow from Revolution is quite controversial. I know a lot of people don't like them. I think again it's a hit and miss thing. Like I personally feel like I've tried more good eyeshadows from Revolution than I have bad, but there is the occasional dud. Like I tried this one recently and I wasn't in love with it, so you know, I think Revolution's just a bit inconsistent, but I do feel like overall they have got a lot of really good eyeshadow products on offer. I want to try Carmi's palette actually. That one looks really nice. I've heard good things about like the foiled shades in that, so I'd quite like to try that one. In terms of what I have tried this year, I think this is a really nice palette and I definitely think that you should get it. I think it's £10, it's either £10 or £15, so I think considering the amount of shades that you get in here, it's a pretty affordable price. And obviously you've got these like big pans here, and these ones are more small, which I would rather these be like a little bit bigger. They are quite small. If you were using quite a big eyeshadow brush, you might struggle with these, but I mean, personally my biggest eyeshadow brush would probably fit in these. I think it's a super good palette. Like, I think the quality of the eyeshadows is really good, and I'm actually really happy with the look that I got today. Like, I'd totally wear this like on a night out or a date or something like that, definitely. Also, another drugstore palette that I really like is this e.l.f. one. This is the e.l.f. 18 Hit Wonders palette. A few different like colour schemes of this palette, but this is the more like bright one. But I mean, it's bright, but then there's also like some more neutral options in there as well. This is really good. There's only one dud shade that I found in here, and I mean, it's not that bad. It's this shade called Electric, the blue one. It's not even bad, it's just that it doesn't look as vibrant in the pan as it does in the eyes, I've personally found. But everything else in this palette I love. Like, this yellow shows up so well, so pigmented. All of the warm mattes are really nice, really easy to blend, super pigmented, like just great transition shades. And the shimmers are also beautiful, like this silver and the moss one, I think in particular are like stunning. I love them, and I don't feel like you see a lot of shades like the where am I putting my hand? Like the moss one, like this sort of greeny goldy sort of colour. I don't feel like you see that very often, and it's really pretty. I definitely would recommend it, and it's not too expensive. I think it's about £12, so it's not super duper cheap, but it's not, considering what you get in there and the quality of the eyeshadows, I think that's a pretty good price. I was debating whether or not I wanted to put like the Coloured Rain Vivid Pigment palette in my favourites, because I do like it, but it took me quite a long time to get the hang of using it. But it is super pigmented and vibrant, and it is really good in terms of that, but it is a bit difficult to work with, so that's kind of why I'm not putting it in my favourites. And also the colours are all super bright, so I don't wear them like every day. Like, you know, this is like a more wearable eyeshadow look here. I wouldn't wear those colours in that palette, you know, all the time. So I would give that an honourable mention, but I personally just feel like these are more, you know, the kind of thing I want to gravitate towards. Okay, I've got 3 lipsticks to mention, and one is the same lipstick but in 2 different shades. So yeah, sorry, I forgot to film a clip of me putting this one on. This one's the Kiko Sparkling Holiday Matte Lipstick 01, and it kind of annoys me to mention this because I believe it is discontinued, because I don't know why Kiko does this, but they have so many limited edition like ranges, and it's just really annoying, because like, how are you supposed to like repurchase things that you like when you discover them if you can't, because they're limited edition, you know what I mean? But this is just like a really nice like brownie nude bullet. It's super creamy on the lips. I've obviously got this one on today. The colour, I love the colour. It's just like my ideal nude shade. It's like a matte formula, like it's creamy, it glides on really nicely, but it doesn't feel like it's going to come off your lips straight away, if you know what I mean. It's like sort of matte. I wouldn't say it's super duper matte, but it's like matte enough to have some longevity to it. So I really like the formula of this. So it makes me want to kind of try some of the Kiko lipsticks that aren't like limited edition, because if they've got a similar formula to this, then I would definitely really like them. These 2 are from NYX. These are the NYX Suede Matte Lipsticks. I got the shade Dainty Days and Munchies, and both of these have a really nice like sweet sort of smell. Like, I can't remember, it's like a specific sweet, but I don't remember which one it is. So Dainty Days is a more sort of pinky nude. Munchies is a very like Max Stone sort of colour. It's sort of like a greyish browny, quite deep nude. I really like this colour. I think I really like these sort of cool tone nude shades personally, and again, these have got a really nice formula. They're creamy and glide on really nicely, but again, they're quite like matte in finish, so there will be some longevity to them. So these are 2 nice little bullets that I think are really good. This one is a little bit less creamy, but in a way I kind of like that. It's definitely a very matte bullet lip, which can be hard to find. I feel like most bullet lips tend to be very like creamy and like too moist, if you get what I mean. This is one of Revolution's newer lipsticks. It's just called the Matte Lipstick. It's in the shade Head Turner 121, which again, it is more of a sort of brownie nude. Really nice colour, very up my street. I know that these are all nude shades, but that is just generally what I wear on a regular basis. This one is quite a bit drier, but in a way I like that because it has better longevity, and I feel like it has good colour payoff as well. So I don't think everyone would like this, but I personally like this for my preferences. Again, these are all very inexpensive lip products, so you know. There you go. Not really any setting sprays that are like standing out to me as great right now. so I won't mention any, but I would quite like to discover some. So I think that's everything. I hope I'm not missing anything. But my throat feels like death because I'm sick, and I shouldn't film videos when I'm talking for a while when I'm sick. It's really not a good idea. So that is all of my favourite products from January to June, my mid-year favourites, but obviously we've got the rest of the year to find more products, and then I will do a yearly favourites, obviously, which may repeat some of the products I've already mentioned if I don't find anything else that, you know, tops them. But yeah, I just thought I would share that today, and that's all. So thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.